what are some of your most memorable client stories?
One that springs to mind that I reflect on a lot, and I share about this client quite a bit because I think it's such an important lesson in how do we make those changes. How do we make those changes? So he wanted to lose a little bit of weight. He's sitting around at the office all day, every day, feeling those pounds coming on. Wanted to lose a little weight. So he identified, oh, well, I have my afternoon coffee break and I always eat cookies at the coffee break. That's probably a place I could make a change, right? So great, he's identified a specific place that he wants to make that change. And then we used Charles Duhigg's model of what's the cue, what's the routine, and what's the reward. That's the model that drives so many of our habitual actions: cue, routine, reward. So when we first looked at it together, he thought, well, maybe my cue to go have those cookies in the afternoon, my cue is that I'm hungry. It's been a while since lunch, I'm hungry, so I'm gonna go eat the cookies, that's the routine, and then the reward is I'm not hungry anymore. But when we really dialed down to it, he wasn't hungry. He'd had lunch just a couple hours ago, and we cultivated some mindfulness skills for him to be able to check in with his body cues a little bit more clearly. And he realized, yeah, that's not it. It's not that I'm actually hungry. That's not what's making me go to the coffee area. He realized that the cues were, one, just the time of day, just seeing 3 o'clock on the clock was his cue to get up and go eat. The fact that he'd been sitting doing some spreadsheet work for a few hours now and maybe was a little bored, wanting to change things up. But what he really noticed for him, the most important underlying thing is that he was wanting to connect with his coworkers. He was wanting to get away from the spreadsheet and connect with human beings. So he realized he would have that cue come up, go through the routine, go get the cookies, and then the reward he was getting was not, I'm not hungry anymore. The reward he got from going and having that cookie break was that he got to connect with people and have those human connections that are so nourishing for us. So once he understood that and pulled apart the behavior to that level, he was able to come up with different cues and different rewards. And this gentleman actually began, he still took his 3 o'clock break, but then he rather than eating the cookies, he enrolled his work colleagues to go for a walk with him. So whether it would just be going, one-on-one or maybe taking a small group of people, but he got them on board to go walk. So he was still getting the reward that had driven the original behavior. He was getting that reward of the connection time, but now it was being expressed through a routine that not only was not hurting him, the cookies were not helping him, right? So not only was he not hurting himself, but he was actually benefiting from that new routine of having more physical activity and having the walk built in. And so that story always sticks with me because I think it could apply to any of us with any change that we're wanting to think about, breaking some of our bad habits around food or building in some new positive habits around our lifestyle, our food. Any of us can have that think about what's the cue, what's the routine, and what's the reward. And if it's something you're trying to build a new habit of, you can be really conscious about where could I build a cue in for this behavior? What kind of reward could I give myself for doing it consistently? And being able to just get into that groove, use that frame to help ourselves really succeed in making those healthy changes that we're hungry to make, as it were.
Mm-hmm. And I can relate to that story a lot because I used to work in an office and I would be sitting at my desk for so many hours, and they say like sitting is a new form of cancer or whatever. And so it's not great for your health if you're sitting for a long period of time. So you need to get up and walk around. And yeah, I would go to the kitchen and just eat the snacks, and that's not healthy. And I would typically just stay inside and not get vitamin D. So I'm vitamin D deficient every single day working in an office. So so it's very important to get a friend and just take a 10-minute walk around the building and get some sun And if you're hungry, switch from cookies to almonds or avocados, something healthier.
Mm-hmm. I love your example of switching out. Like if you do that check-in and you realize, yeah, I really am hungry, but perhaps switching out for a healthier choice, something that works well with some people. It might be too much to think, I'm not going to have the chips. Like they might not be ready to make that change, but we could anchor a new healthy habit on with the fact that, I walk in the door from work and I sit down and I have my bag of chips and I just relax and I have my bag of chips. Well, I'm not ready to give up my chips, but maybe what I could do is I could anchor on a healthy habit before that, so that I could commit to have some nuts or have some carrot sticks before going into the chips. It helps take away some of that sense of deprivation. Nobody likes the feeling of, now I never get to have chips again. That just feels awful. That's not motivating, right? And with the nuts or the carrot sticks, you're getting that crunch too. That could be part of the reward for some persons. With the chips, it might be, oh, I really like that crunchy, get out the frustrations of the day. So you might be able to substitute out right at that same place, substitute as you suggested. And if you're not quite ready to make the full substitution, anchor something else on there beforehand that's going to be more nourishing, more supportive of your health, slow you down before you get to the chips. You have more opportunity to notice, I'm not, I ate enough. I had a bunch of carrots and I don't need the chips or don't need as many chips. But in a way that we can have that sense of esteem and positivity and feeling really good about these actions we're taking toward our health, rather than feeling deprived, because that's just not sustainable.
Mm-hmm. And I noticed that when I started eating healthier and including a ton of healthy fats into my diet, that I don't really have these hunger pains anymore. And my level of energy is just sustained throughout the day. And I'm not going like crazy up and down with my energy levels.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. The healthy fats are so key for hormonal regulation, which is going to be driving that energy experience in part. And also looking at some of our healthier fat sources, the nuts, you brought up the example. These are fantastic. They're a source of vitamin E. Almost all the nuts and seeds are a good source of vitamin E, which has some natural photoprotective qualities, meaning some natural ability to screen us from the damaging aspects of sun exposure. So increasing our vitamin E levels in that way can help with that. It also helps decrease, it's called collagen cross-linking. So we might be familiar with collagen as being part of our skin, and that as we age, that collagen starts to degrade. One of the things that can be going wrong with our collagen, so to speak, is that two different collagen fibers in the skin would start to cross-link and connect. So now they've lost some of the fluidity and flexibility of the skin. They've lost some of the ability to repair from damage, because it's just all kind of crumpled up with all those cross-links versus that real smooth collagen fibers. So having a good intake of vitamin E helps protect against that collagen cross-linking, which those of us who want to be young and beautiful forever want to protect against that. Sugar and advanced glycation end products are also big. Like we could look at the vitamin E as being the positive step to include to reduce that cross-linking. And then we could look at sugar and especially meats that are prepared in some particular ways. Those would be things to be more cautious about, because they're actually going to make that collagen cross-linking more likely.
Yeah, I made a video on the benefits of collagen, and I take collagen powder every single day to help heal my gut, as well as get the collagen, especially for my cheeks that have been damaged from severe acne in college. And I noticed that my cheeks look better and better the longer I take collagen pills or collagen powder. And yeah, I in my video, I also talk about how sugar can bind to the collagen fibers and damage them. And like you said, the glycated skin makes your cheeks kind of sunk in and your pores look bigger, and it's just not a good look. And some people just have no idea, but they'll just keep eating sugar because it's so addictive.